I'm going to begin by reading very shortly just one or two meditative passages, classical words, and some poetry. And just to try and evoke some of the emotions that we brought here today that are almost impossible to articulate in words. And then I'm going to say a few words of my own very briefly, mostly about the wedding. I'm going to bring to you some of George's words. We met yesterday and he told me that he's trying hard to write something, but he just couldn't. So I said, tell me what you'd like the people here today to know from you about Susan. So first, these readings. The first is from the Hebrew Bible, the book of Ecclesiastes, famous words. For everything there is a season, and a time for every matter under the heaven. A time to be born, and a time to die. A time to plant, and a time to pluck up what is planted. A time to kill, and a time to heal. A time to break down, and a time to build up. A time to weep, and a time to laugh. A time to mourn, and a time to dance. A time to seek, and a time to lose. A time to rend, and a time to sow. A time to keep silence, and a time to speak. A time to love, and a time to hate. A time of war, and a time of peace. Some words about death. Would that the people we love and need could be with us always. But that cannot be, no matter how much we wish it so. Why is it this way? We do not know, and we will never know. For that is the central mystery of life. All we can do is cherish our loved ones until the time comes as it must when they are taken away from us. And then, like all the generations before, we must weep for those we have lost and carry on, sustained by the knowledge that something of their essence abides, always with us as long as we live, giving strength and courage, comfort and hope. Sustained by the knowledge that something of her essence abides, always with you as long as you live, giving strength and courage, comfort and hope. These are the words of Elizabeth Hollister Frost. Had you been old, I might be reconciled to see you gathered to the silent wind. Were your days darkened, weary, shattered, told, had life with disillusion been defiled, and grief poured on your head its molten gold, had you been old. But you were young, your faith a fire unshaken, your hair bright tossed with wind, your breath swift taken with dear delight of earth, with arms outflung to joy. Just then to be forsaken of breath, to leave the melody unsung when you were young. And finally, these are the words of the British poet Stephen Spender, which he wrote in honor of the brave young men of the RAF who lost their lives defending their homeland during World War II. I think they apply to Susan. I think of those whose lovely ambition was that their lips, still touched with fire, should tell of the spirit clothed from head to foot in song. What is precious is never to forget, never to deny pleasure in the morning's simple light, nor the grave evening demand for love, never to allow the traffic to smother with noise and fog the flowering of the spirit. Near the snow, near the sun, in the highest fields, see how those names are fetid by the waving grass and streams of white cloud and whispers of wind in the listening sky. The names of those who in their lives fought for life. Born of the sun, they traveled a short while toward the sun and left the vivid air signed with their honor. Born of the sun, she traveled a short while toward the sun, and she has left the vivid air signed with her honor. These are the names of the people closest to Susan, her family, the people who were closest to her in life and will be mourning for her for many years to come. George, her mother Gail, her father John and stepmother Robine, her brother Michael, and her in-laws, Miriam Haleparn, George's mother, Debbie and Harriet, Ellen and Susanna, her daughter, Robert and Nikki. These are my words, my memory of their wedding. There were two weddings, one bigger one, the second one. The first one was very small, there were just a handful of us, and it took place on the Santa Monica Pier at sunset on December 21st. It was cold, and it was dark, and we were huddled together at a corner of the pier where, shivering, we went through the ritual, and they were officially man and wife, and legally so at that time. And then I asked Susan why this crazy time and place for the wedding. The place was sort of evident, it was a little bit romantic even in the winter. But she said, because this is the shortest day of the year. And after today, every day will have more sunshine in it. These are George's words. Susan was kind and pleasant. She had a big heart which disseminated unconditional love. She was a warm, engaging person with no hidden agendas. What you saw is what you got. She had a great sense of humor. People envied our relationship, which Susan celebrated with playful anniversary cards celebrating the love she and George shared. And she had loves. She loved dogs. She loved performing and entertaining and giving gifts and sending birthday cards, simply because this brought happiness to other people and made them smile, and she liked to see them smile. During her terrible illness, Susan once asked George how she could repay him for all that he was doing for her, and he answered, "You don't have to, because at our wedding we promised each other that we would be together in sickness and health, for better and for worse." And so it was. And George's last words to me were, "We almost beat this thing." But we didn't, and that's why we're here today. So now is the time for any of you who wish to come up here. And I won't call on you, just come up and introduce yourself and say what you have to say.
My name is David. I've known George a good part of his life. And I've been touched by Susan. If you look around this room, I mean, this is amazing. And we're just a fraction, a tiny fraction of the lives that she's touched with her love of her animals, with her love of music. I've heard her sing in the halls of Hermosa Beach and in the walls of a Tuscan barn. She epitomized what life is about and living it to the fullest.
Susan had a special gift. Can everybody hear me all right? Susan had a special gift. She really had a good sense of humor, and this is how she showed it. A couple of weeks ago, I had a birthday, a big birthday, 70 years old, and she said that something special is going to happen, and it did. I got a postcard in the mail. On the front was this gorgeous picture of Marilyn Monroe that was shown around the world for decades. And there she was stretched out, and it was a special event. On the back it said, "Happy birthday, Marilyn."
I couldn't decide what to wear today, and so I saw this blouse in my closet, and I said, this is perfect for Susan, for Pookie. We called her Pookie. And I'll never be able I'll always look at the stars and see my dear friend Buki. And just wanted to tell you that we all went to Alaska together. And she was really happy because she said that was now her 50th state, that she had performed and been to every single state. And I'm really proud that I shared that moment with her. Thank you.
Because no matter what she was, no matter where she was, no matter who she was with, she was open and happy and loving to everybody. And I think at one point my roommate, who's also my best friend, and I just used to amuse ourselves. Whenever she came to our parties, or came out to nights at bars with us, we would just wait until she left and see how many people would come up to us and say, "She is just delightful." And it was men, women, old, young. It was just, who is that woman? She is just fantastic. So we used to just amuse ourselves. She would leave, we'd say, count down 9, 10. Oh, is that friend of yours? And some of the things I remember, 2 things I just want to talk about. One is I used to give her a hard time because I said, you have the kind of personality that someone that looks like you shouldn't have to have. I mean, when you're playing or short or chubby or whatever, then you got to have that fantastic personality. I'm like, dude, you can just kind of sit down and hang out, and you're going to get the same attention.
And George and Susan brought into our family enthusiasm. I want to thank you for that, George. The tremendous pleasure that you've given us. Your sense of humor with Susan's melded together, those goofy calendars. I mean, the word goofy has been coming through my mind, that this fabulous woman was not afraid to be goofy. Thank God for that. And thank you so much for bringing her into the family. I'll never, ever forget her.
Hi, I'm Ellen. I'm George's sister. And first of all, I want to say on behalf of our whole family how much Susan meant to us. As this, everyone has said it already, the amount of light and life she brings to whoever she contacts. And she was a shy person. Even though she was a performer, she was very quiet about who she was. And she managed to join our crazy family in a way that made us feel like she really liked being part of it. And she always said that she was just so happy being part of our family. And we just adored her. We just loved her for all the same reasons that everybody said already, so I'm not going to repeat it. But I did make something for her and George. This is my favorite picture of them, and I don't know how many people have ever seen it. But I was told by my brother George how much Susan liked glitter. So I took this picture and blew it up and put glitter on it for them. And George told me a story about when they would go to parties and all the women were really into glitter and glitter glue, and they would be talking about the different products that they use and how much fun they were having and all these new ideas, and then the guys would be talking about their guns. And that's my brother and his relationship. No, and the thing that makes all of us so happy is how happy Susan made George, because we adore him, and well, I'll tell you one other little short story. I was privileged to be there when Susan passed away. There was a very small group of us, family only, who were there. And George had been caring for Susan, as many of you know, for over 2 years, and he had gained so much knowledge about medicine that periodically he would figure something out that was wrong that the doctors had missed. I'm not kidding. And he really bailed her out several times. But watching him take care of her and talk to her when she was no longer conscious and be there for her as much as he possibly could, the thought passed through my mind, this is what love looks like.